welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I am Beth Cooper.
I am Stacey Earlywine, and spring is springing.
Yes.
Sprunging is not a word, is it?
No, sprung. Spring is sprung.
Spring has sprung.
Yeah.
Easter's going to be here before we
I know
it.
it's so late this year, don't you think?
I know. It's extra late, but I'm not. I like it when it's in April.
I like it when it's in April. I actually
March
like it being late.
I think I like because I want it to be decently warm, but not so warm where it melts my chocolate bunnies that I hide.
Yeah.
Because
you don't want it hot.
I put some. We do a big Easter thing, and we do a big Easter egg hunt, and I put like chocolate bunnies out there too that the kids find, and one of them's face was like, Dad was like, yeah, what's wrong with this bunny? It's like, I think that bunny was in the sun. So you got to make sure you put him. But it's like, what, the third weekend?
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
The third. It's not the last weekend, but it is the third weekend of April, right?
Yeah, I like it being late, but I wish that when it was late, they would move spring break for our school system up into March. So I just feel like the kids kind of need it, and because
when is spring break?
Well, it's always right. It's not that it's even a week, but it's like a really long weekend right around Easter. So it'll be like Good Friday.
Yeah.
So then it's like you have your spring break like then, and then you come back, and then and then it's
well, be like actually, 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. Well, this year they go longer because we've had so many snow days. But it's like May gets so busy because you have, prom and all these graduation things coming up and all this. And it's just like the end of the school year just is a blur. And then spring break's right there too, I feel like.
I would never even thought about that.
Move it up
I don't ever recall it being this late, the third weekend of April. Usually it's like the first weekend, second weekend. I don't ever really remember it being
I think
this late.
I think this year's about almost as late as it could possibly be.
I think so too. And I never did understand. Somebody explained to me it has something to do with like the first blood moon or some sort of weird astrology thing. I don't know. Why is Easter?
It's biblical.
Yeah. Why is Easter?
Has to be so many days after, like
something takes place.
I don't know. I don't know. I never understand it either. I just go with it.
But I know Easter's my favorite.
I know.
I love Easter. I love Easter. It's my favorite.
I could hit fast forward.
Because I like all the food at Easter because we do all those good, ham and pork loin and, deviled eggs. And I'm going to get hungry because I'm hungry,
The best Easter that I've ever had was on the beach. We didn't do anything Easter. We didn't do any Easter. We just went to the beach. It was fantastic.
What beach did you go to?
Navarre. That's one of our favorites.
It's pretty.
And that was the best. I don't know, Easter. Ugh.
Yeah, because it's coming after Easter. Heat. And you don't like the heat.
No, I don't. I do not.
And I look forward to the heat. I like it. Maybe I won't be so stiff anymore, I'll tell you. But no, I do. I like Easter, and I like Easter Sunday. And it always makes you always look out there and you have the creasters, the people that go to church on Christmas and on Easter. It is funny how you look out there and the churches.
Our church is really full on Easter, and I'm glad for that. I'm happy that they come.
Are you going to cook breakfast that day or anything for me?
There will be a breakfast. There will be a breakfast that day, and
because we don't change Easter, right? We don't change the time of our service.
No.
Oh gosh, because I grew up I have a Methodist background, and then when I was going to the Methodist church, Easter morning we did our church was moved into a sunrise service.
I know, Jason.
So we literally had church at 6 a.m. and a lot of times they'd have breakfast before that, at 5 to 6.
Yeah.
I never made it because I'm not a morning person.
No, when I first started,
you know what it's like to sing at 6 o'clock in the morning? It's hard enough to sing at my church at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, when I first started dating Jason, sunrise service was a must. That was his church did it, and everybody went, and you had breakfast, and we were there. I'm not kidding you. It felt like all day. And for somebody that had never been made to attend sunrise services before, I was rather unhappy with it all.
Now, did you?
They were
what
all
do you mean
very
you
nice.
stayed all day?
Well, because
you had sunrise and a regular service.
Yeah, they did.
Oh no,
and Sunday school. So you would go from 5 to 6, and that was they would do a service, a sunrise service that wasn't short or anything. And then you would eat breakfast together. That also wasn't short. And then it was time for Sunday school. That was an hour.
Oh, I've been done.
And then
5, 6,
you left
7,
Sunday
78.
school, and then you went to regular service.
Oh.
And then, like, you finally got out of there
About
at noon.
at noon. Ooh, that's a long day.
I love Jesus, but that was a long day. That was a long day.
When we did it at the Methodist Church, we never did. I went to Clay City United Methodist Church, and once we did that sunrise service, and then we were done.
It would be
We were
nice
done.
to get it and then have the rest of your day if you were the one cooking.
We were
if you were
done.
cooking a meal that day, that
Yeah.
would be nice
We
to
were
have
always
that
done
time.
by like I said, they may have had breakfast afterwards. So we had sunrise service, and then they always did like an Easter egg hunt for the kids. I was always home by 9 or 10. It wasn't like that. But First Christian, where Beth and I both attend the same church, we don't change our time.
No,
for
so
that.
our service on Easter will be at 10 a.m. On Easter morning. Everyone is welcome. And there is a breakfast spread that is in like the foyer area, which we call the narthex. And it's going to be just full of all kinds of little finger foods. It's not going to be like anything heavy, but just a bunch of different types of fun little things to eat and drink. And everyone's welcome. It'll be good.
Now, are you going to do? Are you going to do that? We have a new preacher,
Jerry.
Jerry, and his wife Natalie is doing the. Beth, I
Walk
just
through
went-
the
walk through. Yes,
walk to the cross.
the walk to the cross. Are you going
And
to? Are you
I'm
doing
not,
that? What are you doing?
I'm not involved in that. That is going to be a really fun event at our church on Maundy Thursday, which is the Thursday before Easter, and it's going to be a walkthrough, and you go at your own pace, and you just walk through, and it's kind of all you see in each different room. You see something that led to the cross, and you see what happened that week. And I think it's going to be very
I think it's gonna be
touching
good.
and powerful, and something everyone should experience. But it's not recommended that you bring children. It's that powerful. It's intense. It's not for kids.
It's not for
unless
kids.
you have like a high school kid that might be mature enough for it. It's not something you bring your kids to.
Because
Don't do
my
that.
understanding of it, I haven't. Once we get through the Nostalgia Theater show that's in 2 weeks, I will dive more into this because I actually want to be in one of the rooms, and I think it's all pretty calm. I mean, depending on what the person that's in the room. It's not like we're not acting or anything.
No, they're not acting.
It's
They
not
just
acting,
things are
yeah.
set up and
Yeah.
just somebody in there just to kind of
guide, and I wouldn't do it. Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. Of course, then Good Friday services is going to be at the theater.
Oh, okay.
Good Friday services for the Ministerial Alliance in Flora is going to be held at Nostalgia Theater for that Friday night, and FCC's worship band's playing.
Okay.
So that'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another busy weekend, but like I said, that's a good time, and yeah. But once I get through, this show in the next couple weeks, which that's coming up. It is a funny show.
Yes.
The Nostalgia Theater. It's called Cactus Pass.
It's a Western.
It's a Western. Yeah.
Got some country music in it, and it's going to be a great show. Lots of good local talent that just will blow you away with their
Yeah, and this is the first play.
comedic timing.
This is the first play. We've got a lot of new.
Yeah, we have a lot of
Think
new
about-
faces.
Yeah, and we got one that's joined us from a blast from the past. That was back years ago when Sarah Hackney's joining us again. I think the last one she was in was when she played Velma and we did a Scooby Doo skit. So
Yeah.
that would have been back years ago.
Yeah,
at the
that was
high
a long
school.
time ago.
But yeah, it's a good play. It's a lot of fun, and I'm excited about some of the new people. And I'll tell you what, I believe that the new people we have are bringing it. They're loud.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is about the first, with the exception of one or two people. This is the first year that we're having to say, "Can't hear you," because these guys are they're projectors and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yep. Great show.
And we have our first animal in it.
We do, but let's not give that away. There is an animal in the show, a living animal.
Yeah, that's gonna be so much fun. All righty, let me see what ad I've got here. I pulled up. I went back to my Better Homes and Gardens because I was pulling ads out of this. What was that Look magazine that we got? But pretty much, Look magazine must be geared more toward men because most ads are cars, alcohol, and cigarettes. So I had to change some things up, and I hope I can find this one. I picked this one out because I would love to have this couch. Go ahead. Pull up there. Look at this. Look at this beautiful couch.
Oh wow, so new, so different.
Right?
Styled by Kroller.
Styled by Have you ever heard of Kroller?
No.
Me neither. So new, so different. Thrilled to this new age Kroller furniture. It's graceful. It's buoyant. It's cushionized.
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 They made their own word there.
It's a new kind of comfort, yet modestly priced for such exquisite upholstered furniture. See your authorized Kroller dealer. The Kroller dealer is the world's largest furniture manufacturer. Kroller, cushionized, and they use the word cushionized through the whole thing. Cushionized.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a beautiful Greek. I bet it's comfortable, and I like the fact that it's got like the, you got the support there through the middle. I just think furniture is not like it used to be.
Nope.
If you would have bought this couch, anybody that bought this couch
It's probably still
back
around.
in 1947, they probably still got it.
Yep. It looks comfortable.
It does look comfortable, and it looks like it would fit me. So many times I feel like, what did Lily Tomlin play? The little girl sitting on the
big chair.
chair. Sometimes I feel like that way whenever I get in a certain.
Do you?
And I feel like my feet are just like flop
Dangling.
in the front. But yeah, I love the couch. That cool. Look at that carpet. That carpet's amazing. But
So in the actual advertisement, that couch is a real pretty green, and
It's
I think
beautiful
on our
green.
screen it looked more blue, but it was a very pretty
yeah,
green.
it's beautiful. That's like a real
Very
evergreen.
elegant.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, so I'm going to keep the old Better Homes and Garden magazine around for a little bit. But you know what? I keep these. I have this magazine, and I bought them in an auction, a bunch of them. This magazine was 25 cents. Of course, you guys know magazines are almost untouchable anymore. They're so expensive. But, and I keep them in a really cool basket, and they sit in front of an old piece of furniture I have. My dog Vixen likes to chew on them.
Uh-oh, you're going to have to move them.
I'm gonna have to move her.
Yeah. Something.
Poor Vixen, she's gonna be a year old. She's gonna be a year old in April, and she is still so much puppy. It's not even funny.
She's a wild one.
She's wild.
And I have to say, when Stacey got this puppy, I was a little bit like, oh man, I want a puppy. I want that puppy. Like, she was the cutest puppy I think I've ever seen in my life. She was this tiny little ball of brown fur that looked like a teddy bear. Mm-hmm. So dang cute.
She's a cute.
But then I got to know her a little bit.
She's my sister Linda takes care of her whenever Jim and I are going or whatever. And when we took the family to that Wolf Creek Lodge, and I said I texted Linda when we was going. I said, "Hey, you want me to swing by?" She's like, "No, I'm coming to town in a couple hours. Just go on." She's like, "This dog is the cross between the Tasmanian devil and the spawn of Satan." Because she got me right. I mean,
she's just very active.
She's very active.
I like her though. I'm giving her a hard time, but she's a super cute dog. Cute. But she definitely is in that puppy stage still.
Yeah, she's cute.
She's just a little much at times when I get there. She's very happy to see me.
Yeah, she likes to bark when people come in. But anyway, so we're going to come back after our commercial break. And I know we have mentioned Charlie Pokeydot before, but I found an article that really goes into more depth with his life, what he did, what people in the community thought about Charlie Pokeydot. And Beth and I will get into him as soon as we come back from this commercial break.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville. Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank To Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Welcome back to Beth and Stacey. I'm Beth Cooper.
I'm Stacey Earlywine. We're going to talk a little bit about Charlie, Pokeydot. What's his last name?
Workman. Charlie Workman.
Pokey. And I like that it's Pokey, not Pokey.
Not polka.
Not polka. It's
spelled
Pokey. Pokeydot.
Pokeydot. And everyone called him Pokeydot.
Okay, now I got a question. This article was written for the Hometown Journal by Paul Riggle.
Paul Riggle. Now, he's an entirely different show. We could do an entire show on Paul Riggle.
Right, because I didn't know who.
I actually researched him to do a possible cemetery skit on him.
Oh, really?
We haven't done it yet. But anyway, Paul Riggle. I remember Paul Riggle because what's the date on that Hometown Journal?
August 26, 2004.
Okay, so I'd already left the newspaper by 2004, but when I worked there, Paul Riggle would come in to talk to Bill about articles or ideas or whatever. He would be in and out. He was this. Did you ever know him?
I was.
He was an attorney in Flora. His office was above the First National Bank.
Okay.
And he was this little man, and he was adorable. He was just like so cute. He was just like. I mean, the guy was maybe 5'1". I don't even know, but
really,
and he always was dressed classy, like an attorney should be, suit and tie. Like he always was dressed to the nines, and he looked like, and his like hair would be like perfect. I think he was a little bald here, but it was like perfectly combed and like slicked back, and like he just had an air about him. It was a little bit like a character. Like he was very smart. Even when I knew him, he had to be in his 90s when he was coming in there.
Yeah.
Talking to us. So he was this little old man that was just so stinking cute. Anyway, he knew all kinds of things about Flora. And so Bill would sometimes let him write some stuff, and Bill would publish it. And he'd sit back there with Bill in Bill's office, and Bill would, Bill chain smoked. So back then, Bill's office was just like,
oh, God,
smoke pouring out of there. And thank goodness back then, that didn't even bother me. It didn't even faze me. Today, if that was today, I wouldn't be able to work there. It would have an instant migraine every day. I can't be around it. Gives me a headache.
Gosh, where were we? Oh, when we were at the musical the other day, even I was raised in a house full of smokers. It never bothered me back in the day. I've never smoked, but I was raised in a house full of smokers. I can't be, even if somebody like goes outside and comes back in like in a theater situation and sits next to me, it's like,
yeah, it was strong. But anyway,
I think we just got our noses back from when we were.
Well, there's not very many things I can smell. I can basically smell 3 things and 3 things only since 2020. I can smell smoke very clearly, and sometimes I smell smoke when no one else does, which is super weird. And I can smell coffee, and I can smell gasoline.
Really?
That's it. Nothing else.
That's sad.
If I do smell something, it must be super strong.
Really?
There's been a couple of times I've smelled something that I don't even really know what it is anymore because it's. But anyway, back to Pokeydot.
Well, because
Paul Riggle wrote this. Paul Riggle was a cool guy, and he has an entire history.
We're gonna do it.
We should do a show on. But
we got so many things. But yeah, we're gonna talk about, because like I said, we've done him. He was so popular that we've done him. Like he was a favorite on last year's. Cemetery tour.
So the Shadows of Elmwood, we did in 1 year. It was a huge hit. Last year when we did the best of, we brought back Pokeydot. So if you were on either one of those cemetery tours, you already know a little bit about Pokeydot.
And the thing about it is that I got a super cool outhouse built for my yard after.
That's right.
So, but like I said, I saw this. This was written in May of 1989, and his story's kind of sad. And I don't know how much I don't remember. I don't know if I really actually listened to too much what was happening at cemetery.
I don't know that Matt went into the sad part.
I don't think he did.
That Matt kept it light when he portrayed him.
Right. Although he was called Pokeydot, that was not his true last name. Pokeydot was a pseudonym, but he universally went by Pokeydot. And Paul said he had been told by a friend that there was a rumor that Charlie Pokeydot was the illegitimate son of a member of a prominent Flora family, the name of which is not known, and that the mother placed the infant in a pigsty, that a local man rescued him out of the pigsty and raised him.
Okay.
So right there, right off the bat, so he's the illegitimate son, basically probably some woman in town, that poor woman has an affair with a prominent person.
Okay, well, can I say time out there?
Yeah, time out. Say that. What does
So
our kid say about it?
I have a little bit from Pauline Colburn about it, and that she wrote in the 70s. And she says that Charlie Pokeydot's last name was Workman. Mm-hmm. And he is listed on Find a Grave under Workman. And I don't know if the Workman parents that he is listed with are his biological parents. But Pauline goes on to say that she was told that he was raised by Clabe Boyd and family. So the family that raised him was the Boyds. But he is listed under Find a Grave with the Workman. So I am putting together that the Workmans were the biological family that put him in the pigsty. They were from Kentucky. I can dig into that a little bit more and see what they did.
But not the father's last name. The prominent father.
It could be the prominent. They were from Kentucky, but they came here.
Okay.
So it could be, but she says this is typical Pauline.
Yeah, what
that
does
she
she
just puts
say?
whatever she wants. She says whatever she wants.
I love her.
She says how, why, or when he got into that Boyd family, I still don't know, but I doubt if he was won as a prize. Pauline.
Okay, can you read that? Okay, read that one more time and explain that to me.
I'll read the whole paragraph.
Read
that,
this.
put it
I want to
in
hear
there.
this. I got to hear this now.
I have learned that Charlie Pokeydot's last name was Workman, but he was raised, loosely speaking, by the Clabe Boyds. How, why, or when he got into that Boyd family, I still don't know, but I doubt if he was won as a prize.
Okay. They took him, but wow.
Yeah.
He won a prize.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
She just calls it
So,
like
well,
she
she just does it. So, but they don't know, like I said, if the Boyds adopted him or what. Apparently they didn't, or he would have went by Boyd. So he's kind of like, there's a little bit of a mystery about Charlie. Charlie had a wife, Mary, a daughter, Libby, and a son, Gussie. They lived in a shack in White City in the southeast part of Flora. White City is actually the area where Samuel White, the founder of Flora, is named after him. It is off of Vinstrin Street, like that Carr Street, and that area is where White City's at. Pokeydot was the town's, I love this, sanitary engineer. The water and sewer lines were laid in Flora in 1911. And even in, Paul says, even in his earlier days, there were many, many dwellings and businesses and houses which did not have indoor plumbing. Somebody had to collect and haul off human excrement, and Pokeydot was the one that did it. I love that they call him a sanitation engineer. Many of these houses were in poor sections of town, south and west of the B&O tracks. But even up here in the northeast quadrant, I'm getting my area there, of Flora, there were generally at least one home on each block that had an outdoor toilet, a.k.a. outhouse. Back in the alley, in a separate outhouse, or sometimes in that part of a shed facing out on the alley. And there was a trap door giving access to the pit. Wow. Paul Riggle goes on to say, and he's talking about his father now, as part of my dad's real estate business, he looked after a number of rental houses, generally for non-resident owners, collecting the rent. Get this, how much do you think rent was?
$10.
$20 to $25 a month or so, and dispersing funds for necessary repairs and maintenance, which included having the toilets cleaned out. Okay, guys, so Ty and Abby. So it is the, what years are we talking here? The 1900s, the early 1900s, right? So rent in a house is $20 to $25 a month. How much do you think that the renter, the people that own the house, was paid Charlie Pokeydot to clean out their outhouse? What was Pokeydot's going price?
$1.
$2.
25 cents.
Wow.
Or, Ty, 50 cents for larger privy, such as a 3-hauler. What the heck? Most privies were 2-haulers. Does that?
How are they spelling holler?
Hollers.
Holler.
Hollers.
2 holes.
Holes.
So
Holder.
how many holes were in there? Holers. 2 holers or 3
holers.
holers. So how many seats? Seat 2 at the same time, 3 at the same
Holers.
time. So yeah.
Oh, now we know. Okay, he's going to tell us who one of the holers, who one of the expensive people in town, rich people in town
Oh,
have.
who had a 3-holer?
The 3-holer that Paul Riggle remembers was at the friend house on East 4th Street,
Okay.
next door to what is now the Methodist Church parking lot. So the friend house is the big white house where Dr. Chung lives,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Yes.
which we haven't done that house yet.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And so that was the
in that
3-holer.
alleyway, that house had the 3-holer. How fun. The Friends were considered to be rich people. TJ Friend had the wholesale grocery business and a wife and 3 daughters. Now, we did do TJ Friend on an episode, but we didn't talk about his house.
Right.
Is it Privy? Privy? The Privy stood there on the alley a long time after Mr. Friend had installed indoor plumbing. And my children may remember it. David does, he says. There was a half moon and maybe a star-shaped aperture cut into the upper sides.
Let the light in.
Now, if you go down that alley where Haskell's house is at,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
doesn't that garage or like that original, it has a star and a moon cut out of the top of that. Have you ever noticed that?
On the friend side or at Haskell's
On
side?
Haskell's side.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So maybe that would be when that house had theirs, maybe that would have been in that area where theirs was at. So when you leave today, I know you're really, really busy, but when you leave today, just drive back there and you'll see in that he calls, that's the original stable house that is back there behind Haskell's house, and that's right next door to the Methodist Church. If you drive in that alleyway, in that back part, in the top, there is a star and a moon cut out of that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mr. Riggle goes on to say that his brother Lynn helped turn it over on Halloween night. Well, that wasn't very nice.
Nope.
But that's another story.
Bet they got in trouble.
Oh, I bet they did. Pokeydot had a 1-horse wagon. None of the wheels were the same size. He wore a sort of 3/4 frock coat and a beard, and he looked dirty. I can see him now walking in an alley and checking to see where he might pick up some business. When he did, he would drive that wagon down the alley, make his collection, and haul the stuff out to a 20-acre tract located, he thinks, east of where the Ranch Motel is now located. That should be pretty fertile ground.
I would say there's probably a lot growing there.
So I'm trying to get my
East of the... Would that be back there by, like, it doesn't say how far east, but back by the Community of Christ Church?
Yeah, kind of back in that area. I'm kind of like thinking that frontage road where the church is at, like probably in that, none of that stuff would have been there now. So that must be pretty fertile ground. Interesting story. We're going to take a commercial break and come back and talk a little bit more about Charlie Pokeydot Workman.
Okay.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank.
We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online bank, you just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree.
Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be.
Clay County State Bank.
Tomorrow, Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County, Farmers Mutual Insurance.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. Today we're talking about Charlie Pokeydot Workman.
Yeah. Very interesting story. He was the early Flora's sanitation engineer.
That's right. He cleaned out the outhouses. What a job.
Oh, my. Oh, yeah. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the hot summer night. And he had when I was reading this, this article that Paul Riggle wrote in 1989, and it said, so basically everybody's outhouse is set on alleyways, and I literally just pictured his wagon pulling up there, and they said his, like, the same. It would have been, because they said his wheels weren't the same.
Yeah.
So this, Charlie was a very poor person. Mm-hmm. And when he was cleaning out people's outhouses, he was getting 25 cents, unless it was a three-holer.
Three-holer, 50
then he got
cents.
50 cents. Let's show a picture of Charlie so we can see. This is Charlie Pokeydot. Yeah, that's a really good picture of him, actually.
Uh-huh.
But they said he was just always kind of looked
dirty.
You know,
and his wife too. We've talked about her on a couple of different episodes. She was known to be very dirty.
Yeah,
and
they're very poor. Lived there in White City, there on the south end of town, off of Vincent Street.
And just in a shack, basically.
In a shack,
I don't know that they had running water or heat or anything.
Yeah. And they did have children. They do have children.
Yeah,
so,
they had children, and they had a daughter that died in 1979, and then the others I think lived longer. I don't know about them.
Yeah,
but they may still be alive. Possibly.
I was going to say they could possibly. I imagine there probably are. I haven't read too much into it, but yeah, that's his. That was what was on his obituary picture, right, Beth?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's who we're talking about here. One hot summer night. Paul Riggle writes that when he was a boy and he was at home and they lived on 305 East 5th Street, his mother was giving a dinner party. Prior to the dinner being served, guests were out on the front porch. And as Pokeydot drove his loaded wagon down the street in front of our house, a wheel came off.
Oh, my gosh.
And the loaded wagon collapsed.
Oh, my gosh.
Boy, was my mother embarrassed, because my assumption is when Paul talks about the loaded wagon.
That had to stink to high heaven, and it was
known
summer.
What the loaded wagon was. And this windows were probably open.
Yep. Hot summer night, everyone's over for dinner, and this thing crashes right in front of the house.
A wheel breaks off, and the loaded...
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh, is right. He says his mother was very embarrassed. When Mary Pokeydot was walking with Charlie, she always walked about 20 paces behind him to show respect. On Saturday afternoons, when there were large crowds of shoppers in town, Charlie and Mary would often sit in front of Scudamore's General Store, located on the north side of East North Avenue in the 200 block. Scudamore's is where the parking lot sits now, across from the China Buffet.
Yeah, the big one there at Clay Medical Building. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wouldn't it be grand to have Scudamore's back?
Yes.
I would have loved to have been around in that time period when it was still here. In those days, farmers came to town on Saturday to trade and would congregate in front of Scudamore's and visit. A bad thing that that Paul said he learned from the older boys was to tease Mary Pokeydot. That's not very nice. So the boys would sit there and make fun of Mary, because these people would have been probably the poorest people in town.
Poorest people in town, and probably the dirtiest. I mean, they didn't. It's well known that they didn't do any self-care or anything, and they did work in a smelly business. So you can only imagine.
And he says that, Paul actually writes here that he learned from the older boys that would tease Mary Pokeydot, and he says he can remember doing it, but only once. He said, I saw her down there on North Avenue by Scudamore's, and I called out to her, Mary on a steamboat, stinking like a nanny goat, bah, bah. She chased me east on North Avenue to Scudamore and north on Sycamore to between 3rd and 4th Street. He says, I remember it. I was headed for home. I never did that again. So let's see. So she's sitting there at Scudamore's. This little boy makes fun of her, and she chased me east on North Avenue. So she leaves Scudamore's and chases him east toward the overpass.
Yep.
Okay. And then over to Sycamore Street.
Okay.
Which Sycamore Street is pretty much over there, kind of like, so she chases him like almost in front of the Calvin, like where Calvin, like right
not
there.
Quite to Calvin.
Not quite to Calvin.
Around the post office,
Right
you go
by the
north, like
post
past
office.
State Farm. Mhm.
And chases him all the way up between 3rd and 4th Street.
Good for her. I have heard some really interesting stories on her. First of all, she talked like a sailor.
Did she?
So every other word was bad.
Not good.
This is according to Margaret. And do you remember the interview?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, Margie and Margaret.
Yes, and they both said the same thing, that she had a bad mouth on her and she was something else. So they had, we talked about them on the interview. You can go back to, we had an interview with Margaret Duke and Margie Yingst. It's one of our earlier episodes, but we talk about all of the things they said, and they talked about the Pokedots. And then we talked about her on an episode a couple of weeks ago where we talked about her walking around pregnant downtown and wearing a button that said Dewey did it.
Yeah.
She had quite the personality, I think.
I remember. That is priceless.
Yeah, that's really funny.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
So this woman had, I would say that Mary Pokeydot had a little grit and gumption in her,
I
wouldn't
think
you?
she probably did.
On Saturday afternoons, the picture show on West North Avenue regularly had matinees, which included serials, continued from week to week, where the heroine would be left tied to a railroad track with a train coming, or with an Indian raid in progress, or some such suspense, and then continued to the next Saturday as a come-on. The price of admission was 10 cents, and it was mostly kids who attended. But Mary Pokeydot would go and sit on the front row. Two of the frequent heroines in these series were Pearl White and Ruth Rowland. These were silent movies, of course. Now, I did not witness this particular incident, but Paul writes that he was told one time a Ruth Rowland serial was being shown, and Ruth was fleeing from a band of Indians. And it was a very tense situation. Mary is reported to have stood up and shouted, "Run, Ruth! Run, run, Ruth, run! Pick up a club and hit them! Striped face, SOBs over the head."
Oh my gosh.
And then he goes to write that I have heard that Mary was deported from Onley, put on a western-bound freight train, and got off in Flora.
Oh my gosh.
So Mary must have been from Onley.
Yeah, she is a character. I'll say that.
Ruth, run, Ruth, Ruth, pick up a club and hit the striped face SOBs over the head.
Oh my! And the whole theater was full of children.
And it was full of children. This is so funny. They say that Charlie was a great storyteller and a liar. There is a story about how he lost a thumb. I believe that it was something about having it shot off through a keyhole. One time he said, "I've got a $1,000 bill. It's as big as a horse blanket." Another time, a group of young boys asked Charlie to stop and tell them his story. "I can't," he said. "I don't have time. There is a man down the street that got his head cut off in a lawnmower, and I got to get down there and take care of him."
Well, that story about the blanket, that's one of the stories I have on him.
Do you?
Yeah, so Pauline Colborn talked about that. She said that he always claimed he had a $10 bill as big as a blanket. And when he bought something, he would just tear off a little bit of it and pay for the purchase. And then he would keep the rest of the 10, and then he always had some money on him.
Well, I'm telling you, he's a character.
Yeah.
These people are characters. As a joke, one time, there was a write-in campaign to have Pokeydot elected as a member of the grade school board of education, and he came close to winning. He says, "I have been unable to locate the gravesite of Charlie and Mary Pokeydot." And we're not done with the story. We're going to keep going. Charlie Pokeydot was a very real necessity in his day in Flora, performing an essential service, but it is doubted that his worth was truly appreciated by other citizens. Rather, I think, he was held in contempt and was the butt of low humor. How would TJ Friend have enjoyed performing the task of cleaning out his own three-holer himself? I still got a little bit more to talk about Charlie Pokeydot.
That gives you things to think about there. The butt of the jokes, but he did a really important service for the town.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Because I can guarantee that those ritzy businessmen that were running things would have never done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the sad story, and like I said, I've got a little bit more to read. I can go ahead and go. Do you have anything else on Pokeydot you want to add before?
Not to the Pokeydot story, but I have.
Okay.
If I have something else,
I'm going to finish this then because I'm going to have a little bit of time, and then I'll let you take over that last. At the May 7, 1989, first Sunday breakfast at the United Methodist Church, Pal Greenwood Cheney sat across from me, talking about Paul Riggle. And without me or anybody having mentioned the Pokedots, Pal produced some pictures of the Pokeydot family. And when I told her of my interest and the paper which I had written on the subject, she very graciously then and there had copies made for me. The photos were circulated among some of the longtime residents who remember Pokeydot and stories about him, from which Paul obtained additional information or misinformation, some of which conflicts with what he wrote earlier. Much of what any of us know about Pokeydot and his family is hearsay, based on hearsay and what's that word? Infinitum? I-N-F-I-N-I-T-U-N? Infinitum. All told they were believe, and no intentional dishonesty. All of them, including my friend, who was not present at the breakfast, are good Methodists, not a liar in a bunch. I had completely forgotten about Maddie, a third child, a girl, and the youngest. So I do know that there were 3 Pokeydot children. Also, the surname was generally thought to be Polkadot, and that it is probably corrected to Pokeydot, is the way it is spelled long ago in my childish phonetic mind, and I am going to stay with that. Art Walker's understanding is that Charlie Pokeydot was put in a boxcar on the B&O in Washington, Indiana, and that the car was opened in Flora. Charlie was found in almost a state of undress and cold, and a dress made of Pokeydot material was purchased and put on him, and because of that, he gained the name of Pokeydot. That version is in direct conflict with the rumor related by a friend, which involved Charlie having been born in Flora. Grace thought it was Mary who was shipped out of Olney in a boxcar and taken off at Flora. The reader may take his or her pick, both good stories. There seems to be no end to further Pokeydot information which might be available. A man for his time and a legend in his own time was Charlie Pokeydot. So honestly, nobody really knows what the true story is.
Yeah, we don't know the true story, but they are both buried at Elmwood in Flora. That is where they're buried. I know he didn't know that yet. They're, some research tools are so much better now than they were then.
Right.
With the help of Find a Grave and Ancestry.com and things like that. So
Yeah, I find it absolutely fascinating. His story is one of my favorite stories because, like I said, it's just nobody knows. There's so many stories about where he came. He probably don't even know where he really came. I mean, you're not going to remember. You're just going to show up one day and.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to take a
Interesting.
commercial break, and then Beth is going to come back with another story.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Pegel's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Pegel Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting the work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
Give me all your lumber. Doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh yeah, give me all your guns too.
John Lucas.
What?
You better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zink Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zink Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. We've been talking about Charlie Pokeydot Workman and kind of finished up that story. But I have a couple funny stories on Charlie Brown.
Oh,
Charlie Brown.
We love Charlie Brown.
The Charlie Brown Park, that Charlie Brown, for those that don't live in Clay County, we have a large park that's just a couple miles outside of town called Charlie Brown Memorial Park. It's CHARLEY. It has nothing to do with the character Charlie Brown from Peanuts.
And God bless Minnie Brown, his wife, for donating that the way she did.
Yes, she did. She donated the land after Charlie died, and now we have beautiful Charlie Brown Park. Her name was Mrs. Min L. Hannah Brown. Her maiden name was Hannah. And they lived at 706 North Main. I think we've talked about that we did an episode on Charlie Brown. And then she donated land as a memorial to her husband, who preceded her in death. And just a little background on Charlie. He was a stockman. He was a farmer. He was an investor. He was a horseman, like an excellent horseman, which is something I didn't know. Whether he was riding or driving horses, he was like really good with horses. Okay, he was known for that. He used to spot a group of children playing on a vacant lot or a sidewalk or a porch and ride his horse up in among them to watch the youngsters scatter to the four winds. He did it on purpose to make them all run. It wasn't that the children were afraid, because they were not. It says it was just a good game, and Mr. Brown always tossed out pennies when the group reassembled, but he liked to make them run, and he would just toss out pennies for them to pick, because back then pennies today aren't worth as much as they were back then, but those kids could save their pennies and go to the store and buy something.
Oh, yeah.
So here's a funny story. One day, Mr. Brown drove his horse around the main downtown corner, turning west too fast. So downtown corner, I would say that's like by Phil Wiley's.
Yeah.
And then went toward Dairy Queen there. He turned that corner super fast. And yes, there were speed laws in those days. This is according to Pauline Colburn. He was arrested and fined $10 by Shaw Allison, who is apparently the police officer. So this is what Charlie did. And I love this. I love this guy.
I like you too.
He flung a $20 bill at Shaw Allison and advised him, if you will, to, hey, stay right here and be in that same quarter again in 10 minutes. Because I'm going around it again and faster than before. So he just went ahead and prepaid for the next ticket.
I love it. Are you kidding?
Here's $20.
I'm gonna
stay right there. I'm going to be right back. It's going to be even faster. I think that is
that's
so
a
cute.
great
So
story.
it's like little tidbits like this that I think make like history come alive. Like Charlie really was a real person, and he lived in this town right there on Main Street, and he went through the same intersections we did and stuff. And now it just seems so long ago. Like we talk about Charlie Brown Park, we don't always put like a face with the name or actions with the name. And like
we have no pictures of Charlie.
No,
do we? There are no pictures of Charlie to be found anywhere. I'm okay. So now I'm never going to be able to turn right off of North Ave.
Make a fast turn there and
North
then just
Main.
throw a $20 bill at that cop and be like, "Well, stay right there because I'm going to be right
Charlie
back."
Brown.
Here's another funny story on him. Okay, another time Charlie Brown rode up in front of Prince's drugstore. That was right downtown, Prince's drugstore. And he called for the fountain boy to bring him an ice cream cone. So he pulls up in front of the store. He's on his horse. And he's like, "Hey, boy in there, bring me out an ice cream cone." Okay. The boy said, "If you want an ice cream cone, come in and get it."
I have a feeling Charlie Brown was a pretty big man, too.
So Charlie Brown did just that.
Yeah.
He rode his mare, whose name was Queen Anne, right through the doors. He never got off the horse, folks. He rode the horse into Prince's drugstore, went up to the counter, took his ice cream cone, gave the kid some money, picked up the cone, and then, because he was an excellent horseman, he just put that horse in reverse.
Backed
that horse out of Prince's drugstore.
Is that building still standing?
We've talked about downtown. We've talked about it on another show. I don't remember. I hesitate to even say. Someone will correct me. But for whatever reason, did Prince's drugstore turn into Belt's drugstore?
Yeah.
I think.
Maybe.
I don't know. It might have been down there by where Throgmorton's was. I don't know.
I can't remember because we also had Rexall's on the other end down by the gym. Oh my gosh! And he just backed that horse.
He rode that horse in there. He was like, "All right, I'll come and get it."
All right.
And then he picked that ice cream cone up, and then he just backed that horse right on out.
So Charlie Brown was a lot like Mary Pokeydot. He had grit and gumption.
He did. And apparently these memories of Charlie Brown came from Nellie Hannah. And that would have been his wife Minnie's maiden name. So I would say it was a niece, maybe his niece Nell or Nellie Hannah, for helping with memories of Charlie Brown.
Do we have any, is there any of his descendants around here? Charlie and Minnie Browns?
I'd have to go back through that research.
As far as the last name Hannah, I mean, there are Browns around.
Yeah.
As far as the last name
I don't know
Hannah.
I don't know that we found any, but I don't know. And the house that he lived in is owned by the Booth family now. It sits on the corner. Mm-hmm. It's a big, tall, white one on the corner of 6th and Main.
Yeah, something like
Mm-hmm.
maybe 5th Street. I don't know.
No, I think it's 6th.
Is it 6th?
I think it's 6th.
Once I start getting to, I get it.
Or is it 7th?
I don't know.
It's 7th. It's on the corner of East 7th and Main.
I have no idea. Once I get up to those 1st Street, 2nd Street. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the house that they lived in. So where Tina and Alex Booth live.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so neat. Oh yeah, he was a force to be reckoned with. I have a feeling.
I have a feeling he was too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool guy.
Oh, I love him. I can just. Yeah, he would have been fun to know.
Yeah.
What was his time period of living? Do you remember when Charlie Brown died?
I didn't pull any of that information up because it was on an earlier episode. I just came across these funny stories that were memories of him that Pauline Colburn had wrote about, and I thought, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which I love Pauline. She's awesome.
Yeah, she talks about a woman's club. Did we talk about that?
We did do the woman's club once.
She said it was one of the oldest and most active organizations. Mm-hmm. And she said that this is another funny story. There were hitching racks all around the library parking lot for hitching horses, and they were not used very often. And the women's club members thought the racks were obnoxious to the eyes and the nose. They wanted those racks gone. That drove them crazy, apparently. Mm-hmm. So they had several futile talks with the city fathers. Apparently, the people at City Hall didn't care at all that there were hitching racks out there, and these women in the women's club wanted them gone. So the club members decided it was time to take positive action themselves. So they met one night after dark and dug up all of the posts, bringing down the racks with them, and there was nothing left for the city to do the next day, but haul away the pesky hitching racks.
That when we did do an episode on the women's club, and that had like TJ Friend's wife, and it had Mrs. Bowman in there.
Yeah,
all the big names from
past.
the 1900s.
Yeah, their wives
were part. They started that women's club, and they were a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, well, apparently they were not happy about the hitching posts that weren't being used, and they were an eyesore. City wouldn't take them down, so they did it themselves.
They just did it themselves.
I wonder how that'd go over today. What do we have eyesores now that we're like cities? We'd get charged with trespassing and all kinds of stuff.
Right now, the eyesores are all sorts of just bad houses in town.
Well, there's also a lot of buildings downtown that look really bad.
Need to be taken care of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they're owned by people. The city needs to get involved and say, do something with the buildings.
Yes, they do.
And speaking of stuff that's in disarray, you might be a redneck if.
All right, let me have it.
I'm going to read ahead.
Yeah, please do.
You might be a redneck if you own more than 3 shirts with the sleeves cut off.
Okay.
Okay. Does anybody tie?
I don't. I do not do that.
You might be a redneck if you've ever spray painted your girlfriend's name on an overpass.
I have never done that.
Nope. Okay, maybe this one. You might be a redneck if you've ever been blacklisted from a bowling alley.
Negative. I've never done that as well.
So far, we're not rednecks.
Well, I'm not a redneck. I am just not.
No.
Although by some people's terms, I might be. I don't know.
Yeah, you and I, we're not rednecks at this moment in our life.
So anyway, that's fun. That's a fun way to end it. So,
Beth, tell everybody where they can find us.
You can always find us on Wabash Catch TV, Channel 100. We air Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. and then again at 3 p.m. Our new episodes are on Thursdays and on Fridays. And you can also find all of our episodes on our YouTube channel. Just type in Beth and Stacey on YouTube and you'll see our picture. Click on that. That takes you to our page. And all of our videos are there. You can watch all of our past episodes or search. They're labeled. The most recent ones might not be labeled yet, but eventually they will all be labeled. And anyway,
we're over 200 episodes.
Yeah, we are. So anyway, check us out on YouTube if you want to watch an old episode, and like and follow us on Facebook, and that kind of wraps it up. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
God bless you and have a great day.